Hi, I'm Kaioken. I'm gonna show you how to make fake teleports in Human Fall Flat. First thing you need to do is create a bit of a world. I'm gonna build it out of a Pro Builder cube. Okay, once you drop your level in from the workshop prefabs folder, let's get down to business. I have a face. Yeah, that's all. I'm just putting a random cube in the center. I feel like someone's gonna land on this cube and then their back is gonna break open. So this is a small wall. All it will do is hold nothing. There are different ways you can get this effect to trigger. You can use the game's buttons, you could use the game's triggers. Personally, I like to use buttons to trigger these teleports. I think it would be simpler if I just show you how to do a trigger first. This prefab called Detect Player Ambient Sound might have the ability to detect the player and play a sound. I don't know what sound it's going to make. Let's press play to find out. Slam down. Ow, that hurt so bad. My back. That's a terrifying sound. That is an absolutely terrifying sound. So since this thing already has the Unity event trigger set up for it, we can just use it to trigger these changes. So ultimately, we need the detect player ambient sound to be inside level for this to work. Everything else can be outside level. We can just make a random empty object and put all the scene stuff except for the platform we're standing on onto this area. So now when we go over to play ambient sound, we can what? Well, thank you, but that this is a YouTube video. Yeah, sorry about that. So inside of detect player ambient sound, we need to add one thing. Actually, two. The best idea is to take your game level object and just drop it on here. And then you go to game object, set active, and set it to false. So whatever you want to have disappear needs to be unchecked, and everything you want to have up here needs to be checked. I realized I just made a big mistake. That big mistake, mind you, has to do with placement of these level triggers. Since that thing is going to make this platform disappear, and this is the platform that keeps me from, infinitely falling, once I walk over here, it's not going to, it's not going to protect me anymore. One way you could fix this is by setting up a checkpoint. That would not be a very good idea to set a checkpoint that would, fix your problems. So whatever you don't want to have affected by this, you could just take it outside of the empty game object, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't get removed on trigger. You could do this for any sort of level creation item. If you just want this, you just want this little cube to go away, you just jump over here and it'll disappear. Of course, you're not deleting anything and you're not actually teleporting. Having put that inside of the trigger, you could have entire levels disappear or up here at any time at will just from this magic. That's the idea of how you can get this functionality working solely without using the visual scripting engine. Of course, if you wanted a button to do this for you, you have to be a little bit more crafty. Of course, not much more crafty. That would be silly. So I go over to this object over here. I want to put a button on this square. I'm going to disable the detect player ambient sound thing that we had before. Workshop content and then prefabs. There's already a wall button ready for us to use, which is really nice. Personally, my favorite button to use for this is button with the button action set to press. There's something about these buttons that is just so satisfying. Just walk over and you punch it and it turns on and then it stays on. That's so nice. This wall button, go inside level. Okay, so when you add your button from the workshop, all you have to do is follow the damn train, CJ. You just add a component. It's going to be called the Signal Unity event. So you just create one trigger event, select the button, will be to disable the button. Just like with the sound trigger, just assign the objects that you want to enable and disable. It's not going to work immediately because inside the graph machine, we just have a random graph that is closed. All you want to do is click this button and boop. Magically, out of nowhere, our Unity event will trigger. So this button, now that we have it all set up, press it and it disappears. In practice, I don't exactly know what you could do for this, but I'm sure you could think of an idea. Actually, I'm going to show you my current testing level that I'm making. I call it Ubinti. It's just a small platform with a button and a cube. If I were to press play, you'll see that it's a little bit more than just a button and a cube. This is where I found out about this idea. So, like, the purpose of this project is to train you for wall climbs and underground climbs. I wanted to try to figure out how to make button triggered checkpoints. Like, that was my whole point to looking for this feature. I was going to use this button to spawn this point as a checkpoint, but that's not exactly what happened. When the level started, I pressed this button, and all of a sudden, the world disappeared all around. And now I was just a single plane living in the desert, no way to get back home. Totally just realized, or I can toggle it. Press the button one time, and it will make the level change. And press it again, and it will change back. Maybe that's a good idea. So let's play around with that idea. This is bonus content, by the way. So, I'm going to click this button in my scene that makes the whole world disappear and doesn't turn back off. And you just change it to toggle. Naturally, it should not work. To make a really long story short, it took me an hour to understand how the graph editor understands toggling. I went through testing it based on the button. I tested on the base node. I tested like binary. I tried to make a T flip-flop by learning from Minecraft, and it all still completely failed on me. Until I realized that to use the toggle node, you have to enable at least one input. They don't make it clear enough. Show graph. So the signal toggle breaks the thing. I say one input, two output. Now, if I show the graph, it'll work. It doesn't give two outputs, which is so dumb. Now, how do you turn it off? How do you turn it back off? Now, how do you turn it off? But how do you turn it off? Like, without that. How do you turn it off? How do you do? What is the point of output? Hate this guy. I don't actually. Very helpful, but at the same time, I want to know how to turn it off. Okay, we get this 1. We get the 0. What's the point of it? 4. Why don't you just make something that is like an if? Like a choice modifier. Something like that. Like, we're looking for the in range one. So we click this, we look for in range. Now, here's the idea. We just drop this in here. We do the output of this to 0 and the other output to the other 0. This in range node should probably do the thing we want to have happen. I could just run over to this button and let's just say press it. It's off. Let go. It's on. That's not good. That's not cool. That is really not cool. That's not what we want. We don't want to have it just disappear while we're holding it because there's no functional point to that. You know, they make the functionality of these buttons just the most confusing thing ever. I wish you could just tell them about certain things like this and they wouldn't ban you over it. I tried to make some talk to the Discord like admins about stuff like this. They just banned me from the Discord for it. I'm not even joking. So if I press it, it'll hold. Dang it. No. No. I don't get it. What's the difference between hold and toggle then? So you press it and it turns on and off immediately. It's not toggling. You make a signal toggle node. You set its number of inputs to 1. Use the in range node to split that toggle's 0 and 1 into 2 different paths that you can use. Then you connect that signal toggle to the signal that you want to toggle from, and then you could push those into the events. That was a lot of pain on my end because I didn't understand how they did this. Kinda wish So the button now flips between the 2 on button press. What I realize is that since it fires immediately, ignoring the fact that I'm obviously going to kill people, one thing we gotta first figure out is how to set this up in a way that won't immediately damage your relationship with your family. Since this specific script runs immediately, I can go over to this checkpoint button and I could disable it. When I press the button, this object will become active. Let's just go press the button. If it says saving as I jump onto it, then this was a failure. No, it worked. If I press the button, it didn't save. So this checkpoint is what I meant to set active. Game object, set active, true. Now, it should save when I press the button. Yes! It worked! Yes! 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 It actually worked! Of course, if I retoggle and make the level come back, we're no longer spawning there. We're spawning here. I don't know how to set it back to that one, but that's fine. I find it really fun to just climb under levels. This is a prototype level for training your climbing skills under levels. I wanted to make like a progression system, and then I got a little distracted with the visual scripting stuff. I forgot to put a button here. That's fine. There's still buttons absolutely everywhere on this level, aside from that other side of the level that doesn't have any buttons. I purposefully made it a point to have a button here on where you wouldn't naturally be able to reach it, but you can reach it. Takes a bit of struggling, but you do eventually have the opportunity to make it with grabs like that one just now. I'll just grab this cube over here and now you'll see this cube sticks with us when we press the button. Dude, that's so cool. So the way this button saving functionality works, we leave the save point enabled when we create the level, but we disable it when we load the button's code. When it gets created, it will fire off its first nodes, like initializing its points. And with that, you can fire a piece of code that says, if your button is not pressed, then disable the checkpoint. And when you click the button, it will enable the checkpoint. I find that to be such an interesting concept that you can do that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see another one, I will likely make another one. I really like making levels, not specifically just for this game, but for my own games. I just find it so entertaining. Create a level and then do stuff in it. Of course, you see that this level is not very beautiful looking, but I'm creating the functionality before visual, like people say you should. Anyways, see you later. That's going to be a long edit.